Hey guys, this is yours truly, and it is February the 7th, 2023. It is 10:38 p.m., and this is the damage report on the QJ. So basically, this video is going to show you all the damage that's on the Bachmann QJ that needs to be addressed and possibly repaired. Well, definitely repaired. And hopefully it'll show you some details of one of these unique steam engines, which they're pretty rare. And the only reason why I purchased this one was because, well, it was a good price, and yeah, I pretty much bought it without knowing it didn't run, but obviously it runs. But let's get started. As you guys can see, the front pilot here, it has damage. So the cow catcher here is plastic, and as you can see, it's been snapped in two, and it's been bent back here. Also, the foot plate steps here, which would be blue, are missing. The front coupler is actually broken. And if you look here at the smoke deflector, one of these supports here is bent. This railing here is also bent. So we're going to start on this side of the locomotive, so I'm going to move it forward again. And the driving wheel here, there's a little bit of a wobble to it, but it's not really that bad. So looking on the side of the boiler here, one of the boiler pins, which actually holds the boiler railing on, is completely broken. So if you guys can see that, that's broken. And moving along the side to the this would be the engineer side. No, this would be the fireman side. Yes, this would be the fireman side. The engineer's on the other side. The railing here is actually detached from the steps here, which that can be easily fixed, so that's not too bad. Another feature that is unique to these QJs is that they have a full weather cab, and they have a rubber diaphragm that goes between the cab and the tender. Well, as you guys can see, that is separated from the cab. I don't know if that's a snap-in piece or not, but yeah, that's separated from the cab. And another feature that's unique to the QJs is you cannot separate the tender from the locomotive. They are permanently or semi-permanently fixed together with a drawbar. Problem with this one is the drawbar is broken. So the only thing that's holding the two pieces together are the wires that go between the engine and the tender, and I will show you guys that in the next clip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the steam engine around, and it's going to be facing this way, so you guys will see the damage on the opposite side. So give me a second for that. Okay, now we have the steam engine turned around the other way. You can actually get a better look at the front railing here that's slightly bent. This is actually brass. The smoke deflectors are brass. So a lot of the parts on here are brass, which is nice, which I like. Let's see. There's some piping along here that's broken under here. It's not really noticeable. Another boiler pin right here is broken. And then the railings on this side are actually in a lot worse shape. They're bent, and it actually deformed the plastic right here, so it's going to be kind of hard to bend that back. And then this is the turbine section. So this was actually a modern steam turbine locomotive. that was experimented with in China. And during its transfer to the museum, it was painted in this blue color scheme. So this is what it looks like today in the museum. But this was the turbine power plant right here, and it was a steam turbine. Um, this little piping here is broken. Nothing really in here is damaged or missing. All the plumbing is still there, from what I can see. I'm going to move the engine forward, show you the rear. And by the way, these engines, this particular engine in the museum colors came factory weathered. So this is all factory weathered. So going to the rear here, the drop steps, or the steps here, are bent. That's fine, I can bend them back into shape. And then there's a couple of detail pieces that are missing here on the rear of the tender. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my locomotive foam cradle. I'm going to flip the engine upside down in the cradle so that you guys can see exactly the issue that I'm having with the drawbar. Now, going back to the boiler pins, I actually did ordered boiler pins for a Bachmann steam engine, and I made sure that they are actually the same type. All I have to do is pretty much paint them white. The only thing I'm going to have to be very careful is removing the two damaged ones here. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But overall, the engine's pretty much intact, except for those minor, well, several details that are damaged. But let me get my locomotive cradle out, and I will show you guys the drawbar. So this is the underside of a Bachmann QJ steam locomotive. It looks very similar to, I would assume, to a standard Bachmann 210. Here's your main driver wheel. Here's the front pilot truck. And then the coupler goes right here. But as you can see, this whole cow catcher here is plastic. And it's pretty much snapped here and here. And then the steps would go here and here. And then you can see some of the details that I'm referring to with getting the railing and stuff situated. There's some piping along here. I think there's a pipe broken on the other side. Here you can see the bent steps better on both sides. They have a weird NEM coupler back here. I'm probably going to make a new coupler housing for this. Then again, I might just leave it alone because I don't want to mess with it. But the real issue is down here. So if you guys can see that, that's the drawbar right there. And if you look, that is a pretty thick piece of plastic. So this here is the drawbar. And this is why they're semi-permanently coupled together in one long box, because you can't actually separate the tender from the engine because of this bundle of wires, which is very different than the US version, because you can actually just, you know, unplug the tender and then you're good to go. But this, you cannot unplug the engine from the tender at all. So my issue is trying to figure out how to make a new drawbar for this, because that's going to be a challenge in and itself, and trying to figure out how to get this tender chassis off, because you can put sound and DCC in these. I just don't know how to get the tender off, and obviously it might be just something as simple as just lifting the chassis off, but I don't know that for certain. Unfortunately, the other half of the drawbar is not inside the tender, because if it was, it'd be relatively simple for me to just repair that and then just put it all back together, but unfortunately that is not the case. if I could find the parts diagram for one of these, and maybe I could get a new drawbar from Bachmann China um, for this engine. But other than that, everything looks good. Everything's mechanically sound. Nothing wrong with the rear trucks or anything. Nothing wrong with the trailing truck here. All this is metal, by the way. This isn't plastic. This is metal. All this is metal. There's a lot of metal parts on this steam engine, which makes me happy because especially these. These are, I think these are metal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are metal because if they weren't metal, they would have been completely snapped off. Now, I have been looking online, and I found a Pilot that was similar to this one, and I would have to paint it red, but I don't know if I want to go into literally taking this apart. If I can actually salvage this one, I would like to try, but it's pretty well cracked. It's been split like right down here. Um, I don't know if a kid got a hold of this or what, but I think a kid got a hold of this and they just went to town on it. But I don't know for certain. But I'm thankful that the drive still works, because if the drive didn't work, I would have to figure out a way to get it to work. Now, my idea was, if it didn't work, was to buy a donor Bachmann Spectrum 210 or 210-2 and just do a swap between the two. But I don't even know if they have the same drive. Like, they appear to have the same drive, but I don't know if they have the same drive because I never bought, you know, a Bachmann 210-2. But yeah, this is what my latest project is, guys. So I will be working on this, and hopefully it will be in better shape than what I got it in. I would like to get this drawbar issue figured out, though, because the only other way I could possibly get a drawbar in here is if I were to drill tap a hole here and then tap another one here. But the problem with that is the wires are getting in the way. So the drawbar has to go down in here, which I don't know if that's even possible. I mean there's two screws here, and then there's a third screw here. But I don't even know if I can take this whole section out here. If I can take this whole section out and get access to this drawbar, then it won't be a problem. But then the thing is, once I get it in there, I might not be able to get it out. So that's my little concern with that. So I'm going to put this back on the track so you guys can see it run a little bit, and then that'll be it for the evaluation on this locomotive. This is a little bit bent here, but other than that, everything looks good. I did clean the wheels on it. Which is nice. But it's a very heavy engine, and it's very durable. I don't know what issue, like, I don't know what year this one was produced, because Bachmann China made them years and years and years ago. I don't know if they still make them brand new. But these engines, depending on which ones you want, go anywhere between $400 up to $700. The ones that go to $700, they have sound and DCC in them, and they're all custom sound files specifically made for the Chinese steam locomotives. So you'll have the Chinese whistle. These engines are also equipped with air horns. Like, they have air horns, and that was one of the trademark features with any Chinese steam engine, is they had a specific type of whistle, but they all had different types of air horns, which made them sound it was a very distinctive characteristic. And they also had, some of them had dual headlights, which they were called super headlights. And the purpose of the headlights and the air horns was to, get people aware that the train was coming, as opposed to using the regular steam whistle. But those are some trademark features of the Chinese steam locomotives. And there's a couple of these in the States. The Iowa Interstate has two. Then R.J. Corman had a 2.8 had a QJ, and then there was one that was owned by the New York Susquehanna and Western, but that was bought, I forget by who, but they turned it into a New Haven 282. And then there's the Boone and Scenic Valley Railway. I think it's numbered 8719. It's a JS 282. It was actually ordered brand new by the Boone Scenic Valley Railroad. Let's see. I think there's another 282 SY in the States too. There's several Chinese steam engines in the States, but the cool advantage with those particular engines is they were built like a lot of them were pretty new. Like, I think Chinese steam locomotive productions ended in like the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. They were still building brand new steam locomotives back in 2000. But eventually they got rid of them for, diesel. But enough of my rambling and history on that. I'm going to get this back on the track and show you guys it running again. Okay guys, before I put this back on the track, I just discovered something. So there's how you unplug the engine from the tender. So they basically took the plug that would normally be down there and they moved it way back inside the tender. I mean, look at all that extra wire right there. But this is where you would put your DCC board right here. And then all this would be for your speaker. So all this area would be for your speaker. And it looks like miraculously the other pieces to the drawbar are still in the tender. So theoretically I should be able to fix this, but I don't know if it would be as strong as it would have been in one piece. But I'm not going to worry about that right now, but it's a good thing that this is in here. So I'm not going to take that out right now. I'm just going to leave it in the tender because I don't want to lose those pieces, because if I lose those pieces, that means I got to fabricate a drawbar somehow, and I don't want to do that. But it's pretty interesting, and this whole tender is die cast. This is a die cast chassis, and the ABS plastic in here is pretty cool too. And it looks like you can remove the turbine details, and I guess you can make this a coal-fired. But the turbine locomotive, if you look at that bump right there, that's the only difference between it and the standard QJ is this tender. But it was a steam turbine locomotive. It was a modern day steam turbine locomotive, and only one was made. Only one of these was made. It was number 0001, if I recall correctly. And Bachmann offered it in the as delivered paint scheme, which was black and red, and then the museum colors, which is this one here. I always wanted the museum colored ones because, well, it's blue, and, well, my railroad is colors is blue, so it kind of fit, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's just a little thing right there. But I'm going to get this thing put back together, and I'm going to put it back on the track and show you guys it running again, and then I'll close out this video. One other thing I forgot to mention is the tender lights and the headlights, they all function, and they're like an orange-yellow color, but they all function, so all the lights work and everything, which is it's fortunate that everything does. So yeah, and the way that they have this NEM coupler situated is right there. It's kind of unusual, but it's LED. So yeah, these are, so this is, yeah, this has got LEDs in it. Okay, so it's probably fairly recent. Yeah, So, oh, well, there's the date right there. There it is. 10/5/19. So, I don't know if that's the date for the board or if it was the date for when this engine was made. But 2019, so that's interesting. Huh. It'd be funny if this engine was made in 2019, but it would be surprising because I think that's when they started making them, making another run of these brand new. Because I've seen these for sale for years, so. Um, but I've always wanted the turbine version. But I like the black version, but I've always wanted the blue version. I think there's some details missing under here. You guys can see that? I think there's something missing here, and there's in here, I think there might be some rigging that might be missing. I don't know, but and the front pilot sometimes doesn't like to sit right. I don't know. Yeah, I think the spring is missing. If there is yeah. I think there's supposed to be a spring in there in that little hole. I think that's missing, but I could be wrong. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But other than that, it's a good runner. But knowing that that's in that tender, that makes me very happy. So let me get this put back together, put it back on the track so you guys can see it run, and then I will call it a night. Okay, guys, she's back on the track, and I'm just gonna give you a couple run-bys with her. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll give you some more updates on this engine as time and work permit. God bless. See you later. Bye, everyone.